Hello, everyone, and we are back again. If you are not yet a subscriber, you have not yet subscribed to this channel, I'd like you to do that. Do me a favor and subscribe, like this video, and share to as many people as possible. We are back to our math journey, and the goal of this journey is to make math comfortable. We want to remove those thoughts or perception that math is a difficult subject. Today we are going to do practice review. We're going to review some questions on standard form, decimal places, and significant figures. Standard form, decimal places, and significant figures. I hope you're getting excited already instead of being afraid. You should get excited. Don't be afraid. All right. So we're going to have a question. Let's say we have 5.01. Sorry. Let me take the question again. Let's say we have 5.010, and then we have a dot, a point zero, like this. The first thing we are being asked is to write this in standard form. How do you write this in standard? Oh, I want to be consistent with my color. Sorry about that. I want to be consistent with my color. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be consistent with my color. So how do we write this in standard form? How do we do this? Now, if you could remember the rules about standard form, the goal is we want the decimal point to be between the first two numbers. The first two numbers. That's what we want to do. The first two real two numbers. We want to do that. You know, first two numbers, with the first one not being zero. So we want the decimal point to be in the first two numbers. So if I write this 5010.0, the first two numbers are these. That's the first two numbers. So our goal is to drop that point in there. How are we going to do that? Okay, we're going to observe that very soon. We have 5010.0. So to do that, we move this one. This is the first time we're doing that. So this is the first one. That's the first. Then the next one is here, which is the second, right? It becomes the second. And then the third part is here, which becomes what? Here, three times. So remember, we have moved this decimal point three times to be between 5 and 0. So that means that we have 5.010. We have to include a zero because we moved the point from here. So once the point is no longer there, or the decimal point is no longer there, this zero needs to come together, right? So that's what we have done. But remember, we did that three times. We did this, we moved it, we started from here. 1, 2, 3. So because of that, we're going to multiply that by 10. We're going to multiply that by 10 to the power of 3. Why is it positive? It is positive because the number originally is a whole number. We had a whole number. It wasn't like a decimal number to begin with, right? Or you can also explain that to mean that if you're going to your left, then you're going to have a positive power. Going to your left, you're having a positive power. But if you're moving the arrows to your left, it's positive power. But if you're moving the arrows to your left, to your right, it's negative power. So we've been able to write this number in standard form right there. The next thing we're going to do is decimal places. Decimal places. So let's imagine they're asking us that what write this in let's say you have 5 right 010, and you are being asked to write this in the hundreds, nearest hundreds, nearest hundred. And we said that, if you can remember, we said that if you have 5.010, we said that this was going to be this one is the ones column. But right after the decimal point, we have the tenth, the nearest tenth, and then this is the nearest what, thousand. Sorry, the nearest hundred. Sorry, the nearest hundreds. After tenth, you go to hundreds, the nearest hundred. And remember that right after the decimal point is tenth, next one is what, hundredth. And we're saying that the tenth is the first decimal place, first decimal place, and this one is the second decimal place. So rewriting something to the nearest hundred, it's the same as the second decimal place. The second. So we are going to write this again. We're going to take it again, and we're going to have 5.010. And we said that because this is the first and this is the second, which is the hundredth, we drop a line here. The number here is not greater than or equal to 5, so we leave it as is. So we're going to have 5.01 as a what? As our second decimal place, or to the nearest hundredth, to the nearest hundredth. The next thing we can do is significant figures. You could be asked, how many significant figures are there? All right. If you take 5010.0 and say how many significant figures, right? We know that we said that the moment you have a number, we said that if you have 5010 and point zero, right? And this is a number, it's not zero, we cannot ignore. And this one we can also not ignore. We cannot ignore. We cannot ignore. We cannot ignore. So because of that, you're gonna have this to be you're gonna have 5010.0. This is gonna be first significant figure, second, third, fourth, and then fifth, because we cannot ignore any of them. So this is five significant figures. Five significant figures. So in the same way, if I'm writing right here, if we're having 5.010 and we're being told to write it in two sig figs, remember we are starting with this number, so we cannot ignore. We cannot ignore. So that becomes our first significant figure. This is our first significant figure. And this becomes the second. We can also not ignore second. But the number right after that is not greater than or equal to 5. So in two sig fig, we have 5.0 as our two significant figures. All right. I hope this video helps. Or if you like, let's do one more. Let's do one more before we sign off. Let's try and do one more, and then we can sign off. Okay? We can sign off. Thank you for being patient. All right. So let's say that we have this number. We have 0.066772800. How are we going to write this in standard form? How do we write this in standard form? Remember that we said that we are supposed to have the decimal point go in between the first two numbers, which is this. The first number here is this number here. So we want to drop it in there, right? So to do that, we have 0.0667728.123. So we're going to move this. We're going to move it here. This becomes the first, right? And then we move it again, and this becomes the second. And we've done it. We've been able to do that 2 times. So we're going to have 006.6, right? 7728123, right? Times what? We did it twice. It's going to be 10 to the power negative 2. Remember, which is we're going to the right, if we're moving the decimal point to the right, the power of the exponent is -2. So how do we rewrite this? How do we rewrite this? Remember, we said we are going to ignore the zeros. Let's ignore these zeros. So that the answer is 6.6772812 times 10 to the power -2. There you have it for the standard form. Now, let's imagine for a second that we are correcting this to the 3 decimal places. We are correcting this to 3 decimal places, right? 3 decimal places. So imagine we have 0.0666772812 We are rewriting the problem on the question. Imagine that we have this. I mean, we are being told to correct to 3 decimal places. Remember, the first decimal place is right after the what? The decimal point. So this is the first decimal place, second decimal place, and this is the third decimal place, and we drop a line. Is this greater than the 7? Is it greater than 5? Yes, it's greater than or equal to 5. So we're going to add 1 to the 6. So that's going to be 0.067, and that's 3 decimal place. Now, what about the hundredths place? Let's say you are being asked to write this in the hundredths place. In the hundredths. Sorry. Let me spell that well. We're in a math class, but we need to still spell things right. So let's say the hundredths place. What are we going to do? Remember, we have 0.066772812 This right after the decimal point. This is your 10th. This is your 100th. Now, because that's our 100th, we're going to drop a dotted line right after that. Because this is the 10th, and then this is the 100th. And now this is greater than or equal to 5, so we're going to add 1 to this. So that's going to give us 0.07, and this is the hundredths, the hundredth place, or the second decimal place. I hope that helped. Now we are also going to look at significant figures. How many? Who can tell me how many? If you have 0.066772812 how many significant figures do we have? Remember, because it's 0, we ignore. And that, as a result, the first 0 that comes after the decimal point, we ignore that. So we can count this to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do you know why we're counting these? Is because we started counting the first significant figure at a number. So any 0 that will come after this number is important. So we have 9 sig figs. This 9 sig figs. Now, if you're told to write this in, let's say, 3 sig figs, what are we going to do? 3 sig figs in 3 sig figs, because we know that is the first significant figure, second and third, we will drop a line here. And this number is greater than or equal to 5. So we're going to add 1 here. So we're going to have 0.0668, and that is 3 sig figs. I hope this video has helped all of us to clarify the difficulties that pertains to standard form, decimal places, and significant figures. I'd like to end here. I'll come to you another time, but before I go, or before I sign off, if you are not yet a subscriber, I would like you to do me this favor. Subscribe, like this video, and share to as many people as possible. All right, I'll come to you another time. Take care and bye.